All right, well, we're back with another episode. We're up to 24 now, so you've got one a month for the last year, and this one, if you want to figure it that way. Anyway, I got Steve and Craig, and we're going to go ahead and jump into this dark winter.
And later on, we have the amazing cousin of Balto.
Baldo. It's not Balto.
Balto's the cartoon.
Balto.
I said it was the cousin.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
So, just to start out, we'll go with the hot newness of multiracial whiteness.
This woman is nuts. It's Christina Beltran on the Washington Post. To understand Trump's support, we must think in terms of multiracial whiteness.
Yep.
And by the way, when she says multiracial whiteness, she doesn't mean like, oh, there's like different varieties of Northern Europeans. No, she's talking about the Latinos and African Americans and such.
And
so basically
Cubans and all that.
So specifically, this is highlighted with a picture of the leader of the Proud Boys, who is Afro-Cuban.
Yeah,
the guy doesn't have a drop of whiteness in him, and he constantly is getting arrested. And it's got to be the worst PR for all of these people who want to call the Proud Boys white supremacists, because the leader of the entire organization is not white, nor a white supremacist. But
his shirt specifically says in this picture, American supremacist.
Right.
And
which I can get behind.
Let me make sure I can pronounce his name correctly. Is that Enrique Tarrio? I believe that's correct. The appropriately ethnically pronounced name.
Sure.
I'm gonna call him Eric, I guess.
So they argue. The article is trying to argue that we need to sit there and think of white as a non-white thing.
Oh.
This is the catch.
The other person of chief interest here is the person one of the organizers of Stop the Steal, Alexei Alexander, who is a black Arab.
Yep.
Just not even close to European in any sense.
Right.
Not white in a single drop sense. Like just these are the people that they're talking about being white when they say whiteness shit.
So what's ended up happening is the most prominent movement in favor of Donald Trump tend to all be leaded and headed up by non-white people. It's really screwing with their narrative. I think that's what's going on. So they want to.
They can't let it go though. They can't say it's not white supremacists anymore because they spent so much damn time drumming that shit up.
Yeah, no,
and now that they made the boogeyman, and the boogeyman's just evaporated in front of them. Like, no, we have to get the sheet. We need to scoop up as much as we can.
Yep.
Pack it into this white supremacist model.
And if you want to talk about the absolute biggest loss this election cycle, it was Trump's response to the critical race theory question in the first debate. Because that's exactly what this is. Right?
Critical race theory
this is critical race theory gone completely wild.
No, I mean, like, this is critical race theory. That's what it is, right? Like, so they
This is it without the mask on.
This is critical race theory. This is the fundamental difference between tolerance and acceptance and all those other things. This is literally, so critical race theory believes that, basically white is a matter of thought. It's not what you're born with, right? So you can be a white supremacist, and when they say you're a white supremacist, it's not that you're a white person advocating for white people, or that when they say that you're a racist, they're not even saying that you're a racist in the sense that you actually disagree with or demote non-white people. Critical race theory is based around the idea that concepts like objectivism, basically the entire Enlightenment is a product of whiteness, and therefore it's inherently bad. It's a whole string of
it's insanity.
Illogical fallacies.
The one drop rule is a very important thing as well.
Yeah, that's the fun thing, isn't it? We're right back to that fucking wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have the one drop assholes from back before the 60s, and then you have the one drop assholes from after the 80s.
Yep. But that's the thing. That's what we're seeing here. And you want to turn around. So I want to start here. I am an atheist, and it matters for what I say next. I honestly think that one of the biggest downsides to the Enlightenment and to our society is the separation of the divergence away from religion. Because what is very clear here is that human beings, now maybe not all human beings, but a significant portion of human beings require some sort of good versus evil dichotomy playing out in a fantastical stage that is non-realistic. And at least when it was confined within religion, right, with Satan and God, you could just be the crazy person who's sitting there and talking about how Satan is influencing people to do bad things. Now, they've just replaced Satan with white people. And it sounds...
Or gender. It is possible that it could just be the fact that you're male that you're
Mr. Male.
Sure. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. This all looks to me to be a non-theistic religion, right?
Well, that's what communism did. That's what Marxist communism was. Mm-hmm. The goal of it was to make the state the religion. And you can see it happening. You can see it still playing out to this day in China, where today they're going around to churches and removing the crucifixes up top and telling them that they're too big, or they outshine the the pictures of Xi Jinping or the party symbols. For the
how you can have
party.
a bigger picture of Jesus than Xi? Everybody knows what's more important.
So they're basically doing this to make the churches harder to find, but the excuses are that they're outshining the party with the religion. What they want is to keep the party the religion, and they did this successfully in Russia prior to the fall of communist Russia.
And that's not to say that when we start talking about these things that religion is inherently good, right? Because it's not. There's all kinds of
big difference between religion and faith.
Right.
But they're explicitly going for the religion angle.
When you turn around and you take a human being away from when you take a human being away from a structured and organized religion, it looks like they create their own. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing them sit there and start talking about race and gender and all of these other things as if these are theoretical concepts. And it's the same kind of stuff of like, what's my purpose in the world? Like, what's the meaning of life shit that we dealt with in, basically that powered the Enlightenment, except now they're just using a different series of terms, and it's incredibly toxic and damaging. And so we're about to enter the jihad stage of religion.
Right. So go back to the communism thing again. Remember that, if we can even just talk about it in the context of Animal Farm, some pigs are more equal than other pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that everybody's going to be equal in some sense in that way gets broken up by this desire to form these hierarchical structures. A Republican form of government is really kind of and I don't mean in a partisan sense. I mean in the structure sense.
As in the republic.
Which, by the way,
America is a republic. It is not a democracy. It is a republic with democratic principles.
It's a democratic, constitutional, federal republic.
Right. As opposed to an oligarch or a monarch, we are a republic, as in a series of people get together and make decisions rather than one dude being in charge of the whole shebang.
And the other thing is that we recognize that having everybody decide on one thing makes a big problem for the few people in a small area who might feel differently about it than, say, the other side of the country.
Well,
the other side, you can't have a straight democracy, which is what they're advocating for, because they're trying to abolish the electoral college, as you might have seen.
That won't work.
Well, it probably won't, but at the same time...
The electoral college is literally built into the Constitution. If they want to abolish it...
They want to pass an amendment. That's literally what they just did. They passed a resolution calling for an amendment.
If they open up the floor to an amendment, you're going to need to get the majority of states to sign off on it, and that won't happen.
But the fact that they have the balls to suggest that as a fucking amendment right now...
Yeah, but I mean,
when everybody and their mother, when everyone and their mother right now wants term limits on the same fuckers suggesting it, tells you the kind of balls they've got on them right now.
Well,
they got the presidency, they got the Senate and the House.
Well, speaking
of
they're
going to expand the judiciary.
Let's just go ahead and talk directly about Ocasio-Cortez and her Truth and Reconciliation Council.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too, isn't it? She wants to. I didn't know that we had de-radicalization camps or parties, if you will. Summer camps, fun times for all. But she wants to double, triple, quadruple, or just increase funding, because none of these things other than that meant increase. She speaks like a fucking retard. I can't handle it sometimes.
Well, I mean,
anyway, she wants to increase funding for de-radicalization programs en masse.
Oh, and by the way, I have an update on our previous reporting as to the Ocasio-Cortez shoe situation. Though it was presented that one Mr. Ben Shapiro stole those shoes, it has been revealed that he did not, in fact, steal those shoes. They were not burgled by
no, I don't think
Ben
so.
Shapiro.
Okay, I didn't know that he was involved in that in any way, but that is hilarious.
There was
you know what?
Did he pull up did he pull a pair up on his podcast and say here they are or what? Because that would have been funny by itself. He pull the pair up and go, here they are. By the way, here's my sponsor, blah blah blah, and then takes a big deep whiff out of the middle of them.
That would be classic Shapiro. That would be classic Shapiro. He's a
poor Ben.
Yeah, poor
Ben and his short man syndrome.
He is very, very short.
He is. He's very short.
I think he's even shorter than Charlie Kirk. Although his face is not as small.
Yes, Charlie is cursed with a very small face.
Less his small face part.
Do you remember those fucking small face memes from presidential candidate binders?
No.
Small face Romney. You remember the small face Mitt Romneys?
Oh,
I do not.
Yeah.
God, those were funny.
Those were. Really,
I remember.
really
I remember magic underwear. That's what I remember about Romney.
Oh man, yeah. But there was tiny faced Mitt was a thing for a while.
Really?
Yeah, it was funny.
No, that actually was a thing.
That was probably like pre me actually getting into the internet.
Well,
like,
that would be
deep into the chans.
Right?
That would have been 2012, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would have been 2012.
Yeah. So I guess it was fairly commonplace. Like it kicked off around like mid 2011, I think. A little earlier than that, but.
Yeah, political memes are generally some of the best that have been around.
Yeah.
Well, now you
I don't
can't
know.
quite do those.
I don't know. I'm partial to engineering memes.
Well,
yeah, but that's because they're the only ones you fucking look at.
That's also true. Yes.
Broaden your horizons.
No, I refuse.
I refuse. You're not allowed to do that.
Because when I dig into the internet, I find terrible things like maps, and they're hiding everywhere.
Aren't they just?
What? Are you not into cartography?
Yes.
No. Nobody's into cartography.
Certainly not that kind of cartography. Let's chart into the butthole, kids.
Follow the dotted line to my van.
Oh my god.
I don't know if it's exactly the right segue, but I mean, since we're talking about this dystopian world in which we find ourselves, we should probably.
Well, I mean, what are we supposed to say? The socialist wants to sit there and put people in camps. Whoopee.
She wants to go straight up Mao right away.
Right.
She wants her own Uyghurs. She's jealous.
You know, this is, and I really want this to stand as the moment where, like, all of those little shits who come out and say, we've never tried real socialism, we should just be able to point to that and say, yeah, this is what they do. Every time.
No, here's the thing. We have tried it, and every time it's failed.
Yeah, people
that is
die,
your evidence.
And
you can't say we haven't tried it when we have.
Well, but here you have, so here you have
socialism.
these American socialists who think that they can grab a new American socialist and they aren't going to commit a mass genocide.
Oh, and she is a card-carrying member of the TSA, recall. So
I know.
Like, it's not like they can deny. They can't just deny she exists when there's all this fucking evidence that exists. Like, I mean, they can because that's what they do every fucking time. But you can at least punch them in the face with recent quotes of hers.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing is at the end of the day.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That
counts as fighting words, right?
Right. Like at the end of the day,
like that anymore.
They turn around and they say it doesn't. It's only these are not real evidence of socialism. Yeah. This is not how socialists think. This is not. We really want this brave utopia where everybody's happy and equal, and it's all about somehow having a 48-hour day and a 24-hour period and these weird concepts of numbers that I still don't like. It breaks my mind every time I dive into socialism.
That's because you don't know how to get into praxis, man.
I don't know how to get into what?
Well, you know how most sane people would talk about practical applications or practical implementation. They talk about praxis, as in you're practicing what you're doing. Like, so the actual practice of socialism is praxis. So instead of saying finding something in practice, they'd say you're finding something in praxis. Praxis. Google that
shit. Is this like a Wimexin thing?
No. This is like a Google it, and you're going to see a lot of stupid shit come out of nowhere.
So is this like a...
Pretty much everything that you tell me to go Google, it's always stupid shit coming out of nowhere. And about half of it is shit that I never wanted to see to start with.
Well, Did Mr. Biaghetti tell you about this?
You are the Enlightenment version of Meat Swing. That is what you are, Craig.
I don't know if I should take that title or not, but I'm going to accept it as a victory, a very small one.
Well, we could throw a party for you, maybe a lemon party, right?
I try not to make him choke to death. That's all.
I will say that there was that time where I was in college and I broke out of my little shell, my little bubble, and I was excited to see this brand new world, and then I saw how bad it gets and how quickly it gets there, and I decided to step away from Twitter for a good many, many years, and not actually dig into any of these internet platforms, because A, most of them didn't exist, and B, every single time you saw some stuff that you couldn't unsee. And then Gamergate happened, and then I got thrown right back into it, and you're like, I really want to defend the ability to play what the fuck I want to do.
In the immortal words of Carl Johnson,
but it could
not
be
this
worse.
shit
You know what
again.
the worst one was? The guy who was putting a jar up his ass and it broke.
Yeah, that was not a good one. That was a bad moment.
Boy, they're
I hope that guy
things.
survived. I really do. But what are you gonna do when you show up and you're a couple quarts low and you're in the emergency room? You're like, yeah, I got a whole bunch of broken glass in my ass.
You could say I lost the bet.
I don't know if there's really a good way of approaching the explanation.
I really don't.
I think you just kind of have to say. I think you just kind of have to shrug, stare him directly in the eyes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Probably the safest thing. Speaking of a shrug, you guys saw the tweet by ADL from earlier today on their blog garbage on doxing, right?
No, I don't really follow them because they're complete pieces of shit, and I don't want them in my life, whatever.
I rank the ADL right up there with the SPLC.
Yeah,
neither of them actually do what they're supposed to, what their title says they do, and everybody gives them a whole bunch of authority with absolutely zero reason.
ADL actively defames people, so I'm really not seeing how they're helping.
Well,
right?
And they were also formed to defame some black kids because some guy fiddled some kids and I think murdered them. I believe murdered them and tried to pin it on these
there's that whole
guys.
thing where they're supposedly there's obviously there's the fact that a lot of people involved are Jewish. And speaking as a Jewish person, the last thing any Jewish person wants to do is be associated with the fucking ADL. Because, they give every goddamn Jew a bad name. Every fucking one of us. It's awful.
Disavow. Excellent. Good to hear.
It's like imagine if a fucking black guy came out with watermelon chicken and was shucking and jiving and said, "I represent all black Americans." You
remember
don't
when Kanye made that video. Actually, not joking.
Right, well, I'm
Craig,
saying,
Craig,
imagine that feeling where you're just appalled that this fucking exists, and you're just, how do I tell these people to fuck off in a way that doesn't get me arrested?
I understand that you don't want to be associated with it. It gives you a bad name, but if you come to New York, Cuomo can give you a gold star.
Right. I'm waiting for that shit.
Yeah, that's true.
He's doing things well up there, I hear. He's a real gas at parties, I know.
Yeah, he
it turns out that he took a look at the
$50
$50 billion the state's in a hole and said, hey, maybe we should probably unfuck the economy.
Well,
that was a real quick discussion.
He might have been thinking about where he could maybe source some funds. I hear there's a group that he's been wanting to intern lately. Maybe he could get some gold.
Maybe he could take some premature loans and some levies on some of their holdings. Is that what you're saying?
You know what?
Yeah.
If New
Well,
York
you know.
just sat there and sunk all of its money into Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, they would have been fine.
Even now, with it plummeting again, right?
Of course. Yeah, I
I'm
never
just
even
saying.
got to read the thing. Let me actually do this here. The statement
Although it's
out of
actually, I think it stopped plummeting. I don't know what the hell happened. Somehow it went
That might have
down
been a
from.
financial institution thing.
What do you mean?
Well, I know that several of them were planning on trying to plug in to try and keep it up. Yeah, so it says 35 right now on Coinbase.
Wow.
Yeah, it went from 40 to 30.
So if you look back a ways on the, you'll see that there's a similar peak. It's probably going to go back up and not quite hit 40.
Mm-hmm.
This is that.
Oh
part.
yeah, it's a decaying signal.
Yeah, this is that part I was talking about where it's like a gambler's bit. People will jump in, it'll go back up a bit, and then it'll go back down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to basically.
But
just
it
raise
hasn't-
now
it
with
hasn't
all the
really gone-
uncertainty
well,
we're
actually-
gonna be dealing with.
It did go back up to 40 once,
Right.
this past week. Once it hit 40 again. But it hit like 42, and then it fell all the way to 30, and then it's basically gone to 40 and 36, and now then it went up to
The hope is that this
38,
is a
now it's down to
stabilization.
34.
The hope is that we're seeing the end of a stabilization, but it's not going to.
I mean, not
No.
really, not with Bitcoin. It'll only get moments of stability. It's just.
Well, I
that's
mean, so again, the hope is that this is a ring down to a stable value for a little while, and then maybe it'll go back up. But I don't see that happening. I mean, if it does, it'd be really cool and all, but.
Well, there's too much uncertainty for it not to happen. I mean, one way or the other.
Well, you got to keep in mind, right, that it was $3,000 at the beginning of this year. Right?
Well, last year.
It is.
Last year.
Sorry, whatever. Less than a year ago, it was $3,000.
Okay.
9 months ago, it was $3,000.
Yeah.
It's at 36 right now, right?
Yeah.
There is a whole lot of Bitcoins that have been bought and held from 3,000 to 36,000.
Yeah.
Right? There's a ton of them that have been bought and held all the way up. Those people can exit at any time for a massive windfall profit. And there is absolutely zero. The only thing keeping them in the
As long as
market,
the market has support.
right? As the only thing that they are still there and they're still holding those coins for is because they're expecting it to go. They're waiting for it to either start to go down, at which point they'll dump,
Yeah.
or they're hoping that it reaches a stable point, at which point they can exit with the maximum profit. But those people, they've already made their money. And if you're talking about going from 30-some-odd thousand down to 3,000, that's a really long fall with a whole lot of people who can take a profit.
Oh yeah. You got a long ways to go. Even with the craziness of the swings in Bitcoin, you'd have a lot of time to be able to capitalize on your opportunity.
Then you have people who bought in at like 12,000, bought in at 20,000, bought in at 30,000,
and
bought
all
in
of
at
them.
40.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you the point is that at 3, right, 3, 10, 12, 15, 20, all of that stuff, that's a ton of Bitcoins that are being bought and being held.
Yeah.
And so all of that stuff can go right back out to the market because there's still a lot of people right now who've already looked back and seen, oh my God, if only I'd bought it in March.
Institutions are really thirsty right now for them because they see that the way you can control the price by moving supply around like that.
Yep.
And the whales, when they dump and they pull back up, institutions might hold, and that'll drive the price way up. But then they might dump again and then take a cut. And that kind of short-term gaming is going to cause a lot more volatility than they expect, because other people know how to do this shit. It's not like stocks so much where it's a lot harder to get the kind of liquidity.
Well, with stocks, right? Stocks have an underlying value to the asset, right?
Yeah, kind of.
A lot of people don't really understand what it is, right? Fundamentally, you're holding a share of a company. So based on what that company is worth, unless it's Tesla, in which case it's powered by fucking fairy dust and nonsense, right? If you're buying a share of ExxonMobil, right? There are X number of shares. You are buying whatever percentage of the total number of shares that you hold, and that is all of their refineries, all of their equipment, all of their profits, all of that stuff. And so
that is the money that they've accrued from selling out those shares at the beginning.
Right.
That's not the actual physical company unless the company liquidates under bankruptcy.
Well, I mean, still though, you still technically own.
Well, imagine this. Imagine this completely implausible scenario. a company decides to do an IPO and say, just for sake of simplicity, they have 100 shares that they sell. Imagine if they just, and again, implausible. So no company is going to do this because it would be stupid to do this. But imagine
Fuck you, Craig. Let's start a company and we'll sell 100 shares.
No. Imagine the company then held the money that they sold the shares for and did nothing with that money. And then later on, the price changes and blah blah blah. Doesn't matter what it changes to. If you can even drop the contracts this way to make it completely pointless. Those shares could be each sold for $1 in the IPO. And you have $100 hanging out, and then the people come back and say, well, I want to trade in my shares for my part of the company, and they're going to say, here's your $1 for each of the shares.
Right.
So the fact of the matter is that a company takes that money and boosts their ability to expand and earn more right off the bat, and so, of course, that money goes away. When you start talking about selling your shares back, or, that's a part of the company that you now own, like, it's really not a whole lot different from Bitcoin in that sense. Like, the biggest difference is that it's regulated heavily by the U.S. government.
Well, and that's that. There's a little bit more to it than that.
Actual, thing.
It's
there is more to it. There's way more to it, definitely. But just say you can't go with a Disney share. You can't go in and say, "Where's my square foot?"
And that's true. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, you also get to vote on matters of what the business is going to do. You get to do all of those.
ERC-20s are more akin to that. Is probably a better way to put it, because ERC-20s is the smart contracts.
I mean, personally, ETH is just a better long-term coin than Bitcoin.
Yeah. Now, Tron's trying to come in and take over with TRC-20s. As their smart contracts, and the thing is, Tron's controlled. If memory serves, Tron's the one that's controlled by China, and I don't think I want to have anything to fucking do with that.
Well, so here's the weird thing with a lot of these other altcoins, right? Stop, pup, go away. We're out. The chicken fingers are gone.
Just trying to offer some advice on economics, man. Jeez.
Yeah, well, I mean, his advice on economics is there were 10 chicken fingers, and now there are 0 chicken fingers. Where's my share of the chicken fingers?
Check the mail.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's the one thing that I don't really understand with a lot of these altcoins is so I've held altcoins in the past, right?
Yeah.
I've actually built programs that were for arbitrage of those coins, and I've lost probably more than I gained. I know I've lost more than I've gained, certainly because I kept my stuff on exchanges. So when everything tanked, I lost everything there. But I would use the altcoins, and the altcoins are used for one thing and one thing only, and that is to trade between other altcoins. And altcoins for the most part are a scam. So when you start talking about,
I should cut in here with a caveat on that. When you say most altcoins, that's literally true. There's a handful of altcoins that people know about, trust, and are actually useful.
There
have the rest of them which are pump and dump scams.
That is true, right? So
some of them are just like people fucking around. Like, I made a coin I called Chan Coin, and I made another coin I called Tard Shards. You can imagine how useful they were.
Right. So 9 times out of 10, let's dive into some of the specifics for crypto. I think that'd be kind of an interesting thing. So for Bitcoin is gold because it's the first one of its kind. It has a very impressive encryption algorithm. It was the foundation of blockchain technology. Beautiful system for transferring assets around. The downside to Bitcoin that wasn't really envisioned at its start was that as time goes on, so basically there's 2 ways. Let's dive into how you make money, or how you make Bitcoins from Bitcoins, right? So everybody has heard about mining. And mining does 2 things. One, you get a block reward if you happen to basically guess the computational block, right? So you'll get, 12 right now?
12? I thought it was less.
Is it less? I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Whatever it is, you get a chunk of
reward.
coins. You get a reward. Right. Then on top of that, you also get a processing fee associated with
Those are
the
the big
amount
ones
of
right now.
So back in the day, you used to get huge amounts of coins with new coins, brand new minted coins.
Block. You used to get 50 per block for new blocks. At the very beginning, you get 50 per block, which was nuts.
And then you'd get each block would contain all of the transactions that were happening in it, and there was a specific amount of time for those transactions to occur, and they would all line up in the block, and everything would be so basically people would generate random numbers. When there weren't a lot of transactions, all you really got was your block rewards. But as Bitcoin has evolved, a larger share of the revenue from solving a block comes from a portion of Bitcoins that you pay for in a transfer to actually load it into the block. Back in 2018, one of the problems that you had, if you wanted to move Bitcoin, right, at a peak time on a peak day, it could cost as much as $50 to move Bitcoins between one account and another account. It doesn't matter where you're moving them to or where you're moving them from. That was the cost of putting it on the blockchain.
So here's the thing: you can submit basically whatever fee you want, but the way that a miner organizes things is basically by fee and by weight or by size of transaction. So the amount of memory involved. Yes. So, in a combination of those two things, if you're the bigger the weight of the transaction. Excuse me. The bigger the weight of the transaction, the more expensive it is for the miner, and the less incentive they have to do it. And then the more, the less you want to pay for that transaction, the less likely that it's going to show up at the head of the line. Right. So they'll organize in order of decreasing fee, and in order of increasing block size, and they'll shave off the top of whatever's going to be processed, like the first 10,000 or whatever. And they'll just use that. And then here's the thing with it is it doesn't matter which one you go to. They're all going to do some sort of lineup like that. And even if, say, there was one that does it by random order or by first come, first serve, what matters is who mines the block first as to whether or not your transaction is included in that block. And it is a direct open market thing. It's an open market mechanism. If you're willing to pay like nothing, you got to bank on somebody not only...
It will take very, very long time to get your transaction.
And it could also just not happen because they have expiration times. Yep. After a certain number of blocks go by, you're basically while your transaction still existed as a request somewhere, the entire network, it's not likely your transaction is going to remain because after several blocks, it's one of those other factors besides the weight of the transaction and the fee that's going to count away from your ability to get into the next block that's being transacted. The longer your thing hangs around, the less likely people are going to be willing to pick it up.
Long story Swift. As Bitcoin becomes popular, it becomes more expensive to use. Yeah. Right? And so there are a handful of coins that existed to alleviate that. So Litecoin is one of Litecoin and Feathercoin were the first two things that they were doing. They set themselves up specifically so that they would be less GPU accessible. Obviously, people eventually figured out a way to mine them with GPUs, but the GPUs are how you get the majority of your hashing power. But those were designed specifically to alleviate the problems with Bitcoin in large-scale transactions.
The script algorithm requires a significant amount of memory in order to run. And you can't. The way it works is it's not computation parallelizable. You can parallelize the entire thing by trying multiple different times in separate instances, but you can't parallelize the algorithm itself. And because of that non-parallelizability, you can't really generate hardware that will be able to take advantage of massive parallelism, like say a GPU, to be able to kind of work your way around the memory footprint that also comes with it.
Right.
So an ASIC was built for script algorithm-based coins.
I actually have one.
ASICs were built for that, but they aren't a whole lot more powerful than a CPU or a GPU.
Right. And the ASICs took longer to develop than they did for Bitcoin and the whole thing. And then you get other coins out there like F, right? and ETH has
Ethereum.
a whole bunch of Ethereum, right? And ETH is designed specifically to start scaling with computational power, right? So it allows you to start computing block times with lower energy requirements, which is a huge issue for Bitcoin right now. Like,
it's
a
actually
big
a
portion
very
of China's
legitimate
energy
issue. Like a
production.
lot of electricity goes into just keeping Bitcoin that thing.
It's actually one of the reasons why Scandinavia, they have such a big success with it, because they have all that hydropower that's really cheap.
Yep.
And Iceland has a fantastic Bitcoin mining setup going too.
Right. In the United States, so living in New York, I realized that there was no point in me mining, because if I went to Louisiana, it'd be 6 cents per kilowatt hour that I'd pay versus me paying 10 to 12. Right? So literally, that's about what our power costs.
Wait,
so
10 to 12 per kilowatt hour?
Per kilowatt hour, yeah.
That's insane.
What's yours?
Let's see, when I was up in Virginia, my monthly bill...
Oh, Virginia doesn't count. That's like middle of coal country.
My monthly bill was like $100 a month. Hold on a second. Let me check the price power down here.
I think the cheapest was Louisiana, last time I checked the power rates. It was either Louisiana was the cheapest or had the most benefits if I rigged it to a solar rig. I was trying to figure out how to do it. Ohio at one time had the cheapest power in the nation.
Let's see, the average residential rate in my town is 12.93 cents per kilowatt hour. That's average residential electricity rate. Wait, hold on, what the heck? What the hell? Hold on a minute. What the fuck is the table this is all coming from? Okay, residential electricity in city.
So where does Florida?
Averages.
I might have to double check, but yeah. So if you actually take a look at the cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. The cost of electricity are ramping up like huge.
Yeah. Well, I remember back when I was in high school. When I was in fucking high school, it was like 0.9 cents per kilowatt hour.
It was back then. But I think the average in New York is something like 18 cents per kilowatt hour.
That's like 100. That's like 100 times the cost.
Massachusetts is 22 cents a kilowatt hour.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So New Hampshire, when we lived there, that was one of the most expensive states to live in. So New York, we lived in New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and New Hampshire was one of the most expensive, and a lot of that is actually Seabrook Station. So the environmentalists back in the 60s and 70s basically actively attempted to bankrupt the nuclear power plant that they were building.
Oh, and I'm down in Florida, by the way, for comparison on this.
Right. So they were trying to bankrupt the nuclear power plant. So they basically tied it up for years and years before they got the licensure and operating. The NRC is a little bit better than it used to be.
Yeah.
So the end result was that a whole bunch of companies went bankrupt, with the reactor being 80, 90 something % complete. So the state of New Hampshire ended up taking over the nuclear reactor as PSNH, Power Supply of New Hampshire, whatever of New Hampshire. And the part of the deal was they had to buy off all the debt. So they got the nuclear power plant at a fraction of the cost to run the that it would cost to build a new nuclear power plant. So it was a good deal for them. But because New Hampshire, they have to pay off the debt. So a significant portion of New Hampshire's electrical rate is paying off the debt of all of these failed ventures that failed specifically because environmental activists blocked them.
Oh, nice. That's actually kind of classic.
Yep. But Massachusetts is listed as pretty expensive, but Massachusetts is actually really interesting because their power. So living in Massachusetts power is entirely based on where you're living. So the towns and the municipalities have a lot more control over their power distribution, so they don't tend to outsource like New York does to like National Grid, which is what I have. But when we lived in Holyoke, Massachusetts, our cost for electricity was like nothing. I think it cost us $30 a month.
So this is actually a great segue into something else. So one of the Biden executive orders, first off of that there when he comes in, is to revoke
Paris climate.
No. To revoke the Keystone Pipeline.
Oh yeah,
license.
we're gonna stop building that pipeline day one.
But you see, here's the thing: it's not going to happen. They're going to either do train or they're going to do rail or they're going to do trucking to get the oil across to wherever it needs to go. Because it's not like those wells don't exist. So all he's really going to do is create a larger carbon footprint for the oil, oil transit.
So this was back during Obama's tenure, right? Obama was stuck between a rock and a hard place on the Keystone Pipeline, and he delayed giving permission on it one way or the other as long as he could, because the environmental activists were basically going to tell him to go pound sand, or basically they would shove it up his butthole if he turned around and he did anything in favor of it. But the downside is so that's why he rejected it. Was basically he had a ton of pressure internally to do it. The problem is that when what you have is this is one of those things where you have a whole bunch of people who make flawed estimates, let's call it. The environmentalists said that if you deny Keystone XL, their assumption was that all of the oil sands projects oil will stay in the ground.
Yeah.
Right? And that was their whole carbon footprint argument.
Flawed
the only
is not
problem
the word I
is,
would use.
right.
Yeah,
the only problem is
tiny.
that's a huge amount of revenue. So Canada basically turned around and said that if you don't build the Keystone XL pipeline, which will take this largely sludge, right? Because the oil sands oil is not particularly great.
It also comes up out of the ground, by the way. So it's like it's not like it's going to stay in the ground for the most part, but like it does seep up.
Right. Right.
It's coming out of the ground from ground pressure. Like it's going to show up somewhere. And it's going to get either broken down by sunlight, or it's going to get broken down by people walking through it, or whatever.
Well, I mean, there's not
away.
a whole lot of people that are walking up there.
Okay, it is Canada, but like I'm just saying, like it's not like it's going to go away. The sunlight's going to hit it and decompose it, and it's going to go somewhere anyway.
At the end of the day, human factors being human factors, Canada has spent a tremendous amount of money to get these reserves going to try to gain energy independence, right?
Yeah.
Which was during the Obama years, we were depending on the like OPEC and United Arab Emirates because it was convenient to make the argument that Saudi oil was bad and that's why we have to go to renewables. That was basically their whole shtick.
Even though Saudi oil is probably one of the better oils on the planet.
It is one of the better oils on the planet, but the point is more that we have the ability to be energy independent. They just denied all the permits. Right. So Canada basically turned around and said, hey, yeah, we can provide all your oil needs out of our reserves here that are kind of shitty. Right, so they like the oil sands is very interesting from an engineering standpoint because they had to deploy a ton of technologies to get it up and running.
Yeah.
But then they have to. The problem that Canada has is that Canada doesn't have any refineries because they have no reason to. So basically,
why refine maple syrup into oil, right?
That's exactly right. So Canada has a ton of these reserves that they just basically discovered in the early parts of 2000s. Or
why you might ask? Because they're Canadian.
Right.
Well, they've got the priorities.
So
you know.
So back when oil price was spiking in 2008, 2009, 2010, which was largely because of the that's what I tried to show you, Robin. I tried to send you the Baldo. You didn't want to open the link. It's not my fault. It's amazing.
You dick.
No, I just think that some things have to be shared between couples, like the Baldo.
Okay, we're gonna have to go to that after this.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We are. My wife actually paused for a moment and stared at it, which is pretty great.
Because it's been dangled in front of the audience.
It is. It is. The Baldo is a great yes we can. So in any case, but the oil sands are one of those things that it's not going away. So you have all of these activists that have basically made the assumption that if we don't do Keystone XL, that all of a sudden all of this oil is going to stay in the ground and, hey, look at us, we're being green. The only problem is Canada basically said, well, I mean, either you're going to process it or we'll process it. And the United States said, hey, yeah, we'd rather take the check associated with processing your oil rather than, you actually having to develop your own thing. So it was actually a great thing because Canada didn't have to sit there. And this is how a lot of capitalism works, by the way, ladies and gents. A group of individuals had a resource that they couldn't process. We had the ability to process that resource. In order for Canada to sit there and actually process it themselves, it would require great expense from them to start building refineries as they're trying to get this project up off the ground. We had the excess capacity because, hey, we'd rather deal with Canada than OPEC. And so this was what Keystone XL was.
So the funniest thing to me about the whole thing was the fact that the protesters would show up, camp out for like a week, shit up the terrain, and then leave.
Oh yeah, every time.
And it would be so goddamn trashed. Like all their literal shit and piss everywhere, let alone all their signs and all the shit that showed up in. Like
yep.
they would just leave they left so much trash behind them.
You know what pisses me off? I'm an outdoorsman, right? So that
right.
doesn't come up a lot here, but I'm an actual outdoorsman. So my wife and I, we like to go camping. We only get to go because we're working professionals, both of us. We only get to go for a few days, maybe a week, here and there.
Right.
We used to choose to go to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, which is absolutely gorgeous, right? Littleton, New Hampshire is a gorgeous area. That's where we would go.
Sure.
And there's a couple sites out there. You would pay like minimal money, $3 or whatever. It was the highest it was. I think it's free now. And then you could have 2 or 3 areas that you could go camp in, and it was primitive, right? So pack in, pack out. It's right off a road, so you can still set up camp, but you're responsible for the site. We went out there last summer, and we found Charmin Gardens is the way to put it, because there was fucking toilet paper all over the woods. It was disgusting. Millennials,
man.
right? I stand here as a millennial. Stay fucking home. Right? If you don't know how to go out in the goddamn woods, just pack your shit and stay at home. Like, I don't give a shit that you're in a pandemic and you're bored. Like, go out to a Black Lives Matter protest, sit in a burning building, whatever the fuck it is that you want to do, but don't go out in the woods and shit up the place, because people who actually do respect the outdoors really I don't like camping with other people. I like being off in the middle of nowhere, and I really don't want to find your shit bucket in my campsite.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my dad, my brothers, and I would go out camping all the time. And that was one of the big things that got hammered into us early was don't litter. Don't leave your shit behind,
Well, the way I was always taught is you leave a campsite better than you found it.
Exactly. Clean up after yourself.
That's exactly the way it's
better.
supposed to be.
That philosophy is what kept all KOAs going for as long as they were, until people started shitting them up so bad they had to close.
So again, primitive campsites. I found a Home Depot bucket, and my wife is pretty convinced that people were just shitting in the bucket and then they left the bucket behind.
Oh my!
Right? Yeah, there's a little river that runs through these sites, and we use that to water the dog and cool our beers and shit like that, because it's a mountain stream, so it's 40 degrees year round or whatever.
Right.
No,
they're shitting in it, aren't they?
Somebody, and I'm pretty. I don't want to say it was a girl because I can't prove it, but it looks like a girl. So it looks like some
chick. You had a tampon, didn't you?
I think there might have been a few out there. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I did see 1 or 2. But in any case, somebody went out there and took a shit in the middle of the woods. They'd wipe themselves, they'd throw it on the ground, and they went back to the campsite.
That's disgusting.
It is incredibly disgusting, and they'd walk like 6 to 12 feet apart, so you could actually see the line for the weekend where they'd shat, or the week that they'd been up there where they went off in the woods to go shit. And instead of sitting there and digging a cat hole like a respectable human being, they're just a friggin' piece of crap. It's disgusting. And this is the thing that pisses me off.
This isn't India. You don't just go and shit anywhere.
This is the thing that pisses me off, is we have all of these liberals from the city, right? And they go up into the middle of the woods. They talk about how environmental they are, and then they basically just shit up the entire place.
Literally.
They don't stay on the trails. They don't know how to handle bushwhacking, and it basically just screws it up for everybody. It's terrible.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that matters really, because the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah, the protests at the Keystone site were basically they were emblematic of this problem.
Yep.
Yeah, funny enough.
There's a ton of people who care about the environment without having ever left the city. Like, they just don't, they functionally do not understand how to exist without a flush toilet.
These are the same kind of people that have never seen a disposal, as a matter of fact. Not name any names.
Oh, I am.
Oh my god, what is this? Let me turn it on without fucking water flowing in it. That'll help.
I am stunned that people watch AOC and watch that video and they actually know, like, they actually believe in the AOC. Right?
Oh, you mean the one where she's dancing around and jiggling?
I mean,
I figure that's the only one with anything that's actually believable about her.
Let's be entirely fair. As much as we dislike her policies, she's cute.
She's
right?
At the very most, if we're talking about separate stats here too, at the very most she's a 7 in looks.
Yeah,
at the very most.
I mean,
sure,
as much as I hate to admit this,
only
too,
because she's surrounded by people like fucking Nancy Pelosi, who looks like she came
that's the
straight out of
that's the worst
I
fucking
think
thing. Have you seen old pictures of Nancy? She's like totally an 8.
I
so
believe
sad.
solidly that she's a 7. I could even see maybe an 8 on the good days with the right light, but she puts a ton of time and a ton of effort into her appearance. Right? We may dislike her, but she's cute, and that is why she's been successful. She is the first politician of a generation of people who aren't just boring, old-ass white people. Right?
No. Don't go down that road because there's plenty of examples to the contrary.
They're all boring, and they're all old.
She was heavily promoted by the Democrat Party machine.
Yes,
and that's
she
what
was.
makes a difference.
If I remember correctly, she went through something equivalent to like The Voice or whatever for political candidates, and she won.
Something like that, I guess. Like she's the kind of bartender who can't unscrew a bottle cap. And why the alcohol can't come out.
I can't tell whether she is
was she the one
intelligent
that
and playing dumb, or whether she is just dumb.
And I say this because, especially if she's worked in at a bar, and I'm assuming she had to clean up at least once on different nights, and didn't understand what this fucking disposal was in the back. I don't know what kind of bar you're working at, because they're going to have that.
Well, actually, I've worked in kitchens, although those are like pop-up kitchens kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So that's more like
if she's working a party bar, I can see that. But if you're working at a facility, they're gonna have a disposal. Yeah, that's true.
Now, to be fair, I've worked at a number of food places and at least one strip joint, and none of them have had one of those. Mind you, I know exactly what a disposal is.
Okay, strip places do have disposals. They're just not the right kind.
True.
I think Evan's point is much more relevant, namely that even if you've worked predominantly at places that don't have disposals, everybody kind of knows what one is.
Yeah, I don't live such a sheltered life that
I'll be
completely
back in just a half second.
Blindsided by that. But yeah, the thing I was actually going to list earlier, or not list, just read off, is the ADL statement, which it's classic.
I thought we'd successfully diverted off and didn't have to listen to anything the ADL had to say.
Oh, we don't. I just want to put it out there so that people know what not to listen to.
This is going to make me sad.
I'm guessing more angry, but we'll see. So I'll just read it directly. There's a difference between
to be angry. Goose fraba.
There's a distinct difference between criminal doxing, a common tactic of white supremacists and others to facilitate the stalking and terrorizing of targets, and the important reporting of extremist and hateful activities. Our laws must clearly reflect that. Basically what they're saying is, it should be fine.
We should be able to dox the right but not the left. Yeah, I got that. So I mean, I think that I'd like to. One of my favorite production oriented YouTube channels right? And I got to this from Craig's actual little server. My server is reserved for actual math, but Craig's server is reserved for shit posting. Yes, and actually there was a pretty good I can't remember what the hell they're called, but in any case they had James Lindsay on for a discussion this past week. They interviewed him. And that was probably one of the better interviews that I've seen, where they talked about the asymmetric treatment of the right and the left. And it's getting to the point where it's blatant. And even folks on the left are starting to say, hey, yeah, that's a little bit excessive. The problem that you have is tribalism. And we can't really, I used to rail against it a lot more, and then I kind of joined a tribe, which makes me sad. But I just can't really stand this asymmetric treatment of one side, and I end up defending the right a lot more than I'd really like to, simply because they're not doing as offensive things as something like the ADL coming in and saying, hey, yeah, we should have the right to sit there and reveal personal information about people who espouse right-wing ideas and those who don't. And
that sounds like a pretty right-wing idea in itself.
Right. Well, I mean,
yeah.
No.
Oh, where did that come from?
No, it's not a right-wing idea to do that. That's just an authoritarian idea. Right?
I still believe it happened under Obama too. Let's expose all these different people.
Well, I mean, Obama, he had a specific amount of so as much as we had the investigation, the quote-unquote investigation into Trump, which really turns out that during his campaign they'd actually wiretapped him, and they'd actually sat there and monitored his campaign and campaign chat. Right?
Like
Obama also had it for the very second that Obama was talked badly about in any professional capacity, they ended up on a spy list.
Yeah.
Right? That was a real thing. That was a real thing that he actually did.
Yeah, never mind.
You could talk about Trump the Nazi, Trump the authoritarian, but let's pause for a moment and really revel in the fact that one journalist looked bad at Obama and he got tracked for the rest of his life.
Yep.
Well, hey, at least he didn't get droned.
Yeah, I mean, like those two Americans over in the Middle East? That was pretty smart.
Those Americans that he droned.
Like that, the one guy who might have actually been a bad guy, and then his grandson who went out looking for him because his dad couldn't control him. He killed a 16-year-old with a drone, an American.
Yeah, well...
You know what? I would say... So I'm trying to, I'm always sitting there and going through when did I sit there and switch sides, right? Because in 2004 I voted Democrat. Right. And I think they were reasonable back then. I really do. I still...
fairly. You know what? I would say that a lot of the policies weren't necessarily, but the people definitely.
Well, and they had their masks, fully on and strapped on tight, so you really couldn't see their true faces.
I respect it. So Kerry went up against Bush, right?
Sure.
And Kerry's platform was pro stem cell research, which I supported.
Sure.
Right? And I don't believe that research in any form should be disavowed, right? The government shouldn't sit there and we should not be erecting barriers into research. That's not to say that we should support all research. I'm just saying that we shouldn't erect barriers into certain.
I don't think
so you're saying you're looking for a job in Xinjiang.
I would say that politicians should have no say whatsoever in what the direction is for things like the National Science Academies or the NIH or SBIRs that go out from them. They shouldn't have any say in the research directions.
I would agree with that.
Not the politicians. But, people that actually operate in NIH, they should be able to say that because they are actually ones in the know.
I totally agree. So that's a very, very clear distinction, and we should be clear as to what that is, right? There is a difference between stopping research, which was what Bush was doing back in 2004, into stem cell research, right, which I am totally opposed to, and promoting research, which is kind of what ends up happening now with a lot of the stuff on climate change, where you're actively funding stuff that has a specific outcome. Both stopping research into specific approaches, which was an actual law that they actually passed, limiting what research could be done with stem cells.
They limited what federal dollars could go to. That was the
No,
important
they
thing.
also limited the actual. You
Right.
couldn't use fetal stem cells.
Well,
Right. So what happened shortly after that is they went ahead and relaxed it, and it was still a federal moratorium on research dollars.
They,
So the way that a lot of that works is you get an SBIR, and then
I'm pretty
you
sure.
get your
I'm
SBIR.
pretty sure that they still mandated a block in fetal tissue
Yeah.
research until Obama took the reins in 2008. That was when that
Right.
got overturned.
That's what I was saying. So what I'm saying is that after that moratorium was pulled, the issue was that SBIR dollars could not go out.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
That was also lifted, and that was one of the major downsides of lifting that restriction was that the body parts of cut up babies are being sold.
I mean, I understand. So the problem that we're going to have
the
whenever we
research
start
should be
talking
allowed, but at the same time, it shouldn't be like a fucking marketplace.
the problem that you're going to have is this is bioethics, right? And bioethics is probably the only aspect of ethics that is remotely interesting, right?
It's really difficult to navigate.
It is really it is the only thing that is the hairy fruit that we have to decide whether we want it bite in or not, because there are. When we start talking about bioethics, there are tremendous potential advantages. Like,
but then you start going down the Nazi road.
But then you start going down the Nazi road. That's a good way to put it because it's friggin' terrifying.
It's biting the apple in the garden. It really is.
It really is, and that's the problem that you have with bioethics. So bioethics, when it comes to bioethics, I am okay with people saying, yeah, we don't really want to fund this. And I am okay with people saying that. I am not okay with people sitting there and stepping in and saying, you can't do this, right? And that was where Kerry essentially was that, we shouldn't be funding it. I don't like Kerry where his current positions are because he basically bit the party bullet hard. I want to make that very, very clear.
Because he turned into a fucking traitor is what he did.
Yeah, 2008 to 2021 Kerry is a shit biscuit and a shit biscuit. But 2004 Kerry running for a presidential election, I would still support that. The second thing I supported was student loan. So they had if you commit to doing a certain number of hours of community service, that number of hours would translate into a $10,000 student loan repayment with no tax.
Bad. Like that, you see, that's something that I think should be okay. Like,
right?
There should be certain things that you can do on a volunteer basis.
Yes.
That help the community. Like going to the soup kitchen and helping out with homeless people. That kind of shit is selfless. Completely selfless.
Yep.
And that is easily one of the things I wouldn't mind forgiving, if you do that 40 hours, if you do say 4 hours a week for a year, I think that's worth $10,000.
I think so too.
That's easily worth $10,000.
That was the other policy that he had in 2004. That was that's actually a brilliant idea.
And that's better than just saying, here you don't get it, or
right.
Here you get it, rather.
Yeah, no, and then that's kind of so the Democrats back in 2004 were all workfare and all these other things. They wanted to expand social programs, but they wanted to basically force people to actually have to do something for the money. And then in 2008, it switched over to, we're just going to give out money for free.
Yeah, because Obama phones.
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different Obama things.
Yeah, my Obama check and my Obama phone, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and
that woman going to that rally was hilarious and so sad.
So I will defend my 2004 choices for Democrats. But as we go on, they've just gone crazier and crazier. And I remember the biggest thing, going back to the tie-in to drone strikes, right, was I remember all of my liberal friends, because I was a liberal, right? I remember when they went outside to protest, and we were the school was not entirely sure it was okay to go out and protest. It's kind of tough to tell the student body they don't want to. But it was all, George Bush and his war crimes, and I kind of bought into that, right? I'm really not okay with torture. I don't think it's I understand.
Data.
Well, what's that?
It doesn't give us useful data for one thing, and for another thing, it's kind of bad.
Yes. I mean, so where bioethics is the hairy fruit of That one path leads you down towards being the Nazi nation.
Right.
Torture's pretty clear cut. It doesn't give us anything useful, and it's kind of a shitty thing.
Yeah, we didn't quite know back then because, like, we hadn't tried it a whole lot, except we had. But, like, there weren't studies on the matter. There are now conclusive studies on the matter. You don't get good data. And this is something you're now taught in military intelligence training. You don't get good data from it.
So when like, a lot of people think that you can put somebody under pressure, right? But so the problem that you have is that an individual who's being tortured will do anything to stop the torture, and that includes lie their fucking ass off. They will create information that is completely and totally false in order to get out of the fact that they're being waterboarded.
Part of the reason why they would do this in the first place to compel a lie. This is just stupid, but, whatever. I guess it follows a certain set of rules. Part of the reason they would do that is to have a reason to hold them.
Right.
You lied, you didn't give us good information, you're here for longer. Now give us the real information. And that's just psychological torture that is it's still not going to get you anything useful. It just gives you more opportunities to be a dick.
The kicker is that there's actually a couple of useful ways for interrogating people. Right? One, I can't remember what the exact method's called, but the method basically is a psychological breakdown where we see in cop shows, good cop, bad cop. The actual way to do it is good cop, right?
Yeah.
Where everybody is technically on your side. If you want to see this technique used appropriately to catch a murderer, when they go and interview the friggin' retard like nephew or whatever. That's what they're using. They spent 6 hours with him coaxing information out of him. That is just as likely to be false, by the way. Right? There's like an 80% falsehood on that, but you are much more likely to get confessions and information out of that.
So the confession is useful by keeping an accomplice off the street.
Right. But
that could also be considered forced testimony, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean, there's
the
the issues with
out
that.
Of those are really, really questionable in the same kind of way that torture is. I mean, if you really take it to its end, it kind of is a torture of its own kind.
Well, it's a psychological breakdown, but it's nowhere near as violent. It is significantly more effective and faster than torture. But you're just as likely to get a shitty answer. What they've actually found is the most effective way of torturing, especially, Muslim immigrant, or not Muslim immigrants, but Muslim jihadists, right, is to basically give them a steak and a beer and a copy of Playboy and say, oh man, what can you tell me about your side? Because according to the Quran, I haven't really read it.
These are all bad things.
Well, it's not that these are all bad things. It's that you are only required to resist in the name of Allah to the capacity that you are capable of. So if you're offered steak, beer, and a Playboy, what are you to do, right?
So the other side of that is, the other part of that is, like, in the same way that Jesus forgives all your sins, even on your deathbed kind of thing, you can include the fact that they're allowed to lie, cheat, and steal in whichever way is necessary to accomplish jihad. So, and that can be the internal or the external struggle.
Yep.
So that's like getting a get-out-of-jail-free card for your entire fucking life. You could be a horrific person even as you're dying and still get out of jail free.
Yeah,
I'm sensing a very strong Jewish slant to this.
There might be. So, in this...
I'm just saying that I don't think this is an unbiased response.
Here's the part where it gets really annoying with the way that they treat their own religion. And you can talk to anybody who is a Muslim or was a Muslim about this, and they'll be equally frustrated. When they start talking about things that Muhammad does or doesn't say, and can or can't do, etc., and you try and bring this up with one of the Muslim scholars, etc., there's always a fucking hadith. One of these little extra phrases that didn't make it into the big copy that comes out of nowhere where it justifies what they're saying. Or, they're constantly discovering new hadiths. There's always a hadith for this, that, or the other thing. So the way that there's all this post hoc rationalization that goes on in the religion from the like top of the hierarchical structuring of the religion downward as well as upward from the bottom.
Well, I mean, and that's
it's
kind
all
of the thing.
it's all post hoc rationalizations for doing whatever the hell they want to do, and then having it in the name of the religion.
When we start talking about the religion itself, and the period of the Enlightenment, the religion of Islam was actually ahead of most of Christianity.
For a while.
It was extremely enlightened for a while.
Well, algebra is a fantastic example of how fucking amazing it was at the time.
Right. To put it to people who don't know, the Muslim world actually discovered that the Earth was round, that the Earth orbited the sun. They named the stars. They were like super far ahead in science and religion and sexuality.
They basically got a lot of stuff from ancient cultures that they had mixed in with. And then in isolation, they didn't have the medieval blackout, so to speak. They didn't have the Christian crippling.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
they didn't have dark ages. They didn't have any dark ages. They just kept going.
Yep.
And then they met the Christians and realized the errors of their ways, and then they stopped going. The rest of the world decided to keep going.
Even then, right? Like they actually continued all the way up until the 1950s.
Sure.
Right.
We got to be careful about where we're talking here, but specifically in Iran, definitely.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the places.
Going.
A lot of the places actually continued under this religious structure, and they were more enlightened. They were more liberal. They were more free than most of the Western nations were.
Well, I mean, we can look at Iran in like 1970, and that would be a wonderful place to go for any Western.
Yeah, it really would have been.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, sometime in 1970, they all brought out their friggin' hachis.
And things got weird and complicated, and then there was Jimmy Carter, and it just...
And there was that whole Kashmir thing nearby, and that wasn't a good thing.
I don't remember anything about these sweaters that you're speaking of.
Well, they aren't called Pakistanis for a reason. They aren't called Jakarta cardigans, are they?
Indeed they are.
But yeah, so I mean, when we start talking about that religion, it was actually very, very advanced, right? The only problem is that somehow they basically reverted to the worst of the religious tendencies. The same thing, by the way, that we're on now with the American left.
Yeah,
right.
You're literally watching this happen right now. The devolution of what was the left.
Yep, and so fundamentally, we're talking about this this non-secular or non-theistic religion taking over, and we are just about ready to head back to the jihad phase and the whole
Don't you worry, Biden's gonna put us back in the Paris Agreement and reverse the travel ban. That's gonna fix everything.
You know, the Paris Agreement is the most retarded thing we've ever done.
Stupid. No, I love it because it's a bunch of. Speaking of toilet paper, it's a bunch of that. You know, imagine stringing out the stuff from the Charmin swamp and stapling it all together in little layers. That's basically the Paris Agreement. We agreed to do the non-shit. We're gonna do nothing, and we've written it down. Congratulations.
So for the listeners who aren't familiar with the Paris Accords, right? The Paris Accords was a voluntary set of agreements by all of the nations of the world in terms of what they are going to do to limit their carbon emissions. And because we had Obama at the time, he decided to be the first lemming off the cliff.
Yeah.
And he committed to the most extreme set of
things.
He promised that. Now, when we start talking about could Trump pull out, could he not pull out, the answer is yes, he could pull out because when we start talking about international agreements, there is a process by which you can actually enter international agreements, and that is to run it through the House and the Senate, and then it becomes law. But because Obama entered the Paris Accords after the Republicans had taken control of the House and the Senate, he decided not to do this, which is why now, every single time we get a Democrat president, they're going to enter the Paris Accords, and every time we have a Republican president, they're going to leave the Paris Accords.
But again, this is a non-binding international agreement.
It really is.
And that means that you don't have to do what you said you're going to do in the first place. That's one thing. So that means that there's no legal consequence for it. for violating your own terms. And everybody decided to do their own terms. There's no one universal standard by which the agreement is set.
Yeah. So when we start talking about, like, the concerns of climate change, we need to be very clear. The concerns of climate change aren't related to Western nations and Western nation emissions, right?
Yeah,
the concerns associated with climate change are basically Africa and China, right?
Well, no, Africa, China, and India.
Oh,
yeah, India is doing better. India made the same agreement contributions that China did, effectively. Although India said, so China said that the rate of increase in the rate of emissions would go to 0 by 2030. That means they're going to stop accelerating their emissions rate by 2030.
Yeah.
So that
it doesn't mean it's going to go down ever in that period.
So to be very clear to our listeners who don't, I don't know the exact number of degrees, right? But it is either 1/10 of a degree over the next 100 years will be delayed based on all of the climate accords, or 1/100th of a degree will be delayed over the next 100 years by the climate accords, right? And that is using the worst case scenario models, which we've talked about on this podcast as being highly suspicious based on the actual experimental evidence that we have, right? So if everything lines up, it's like nothing. But whatever. And so when we start talking about, like, why is it that Trump left the Paris Accords?
Well, we're already doing it. We're already doing better than we said we were going to do. That was the major thing.
That was one aspect. Well, I mean, a lot of that's the conversion of coal plants to natural gas plants, which is pretty easy to do. Right. And so the carbon intensity of coal is significantly less than the carbon intensity of natural gas. So we actually beat the Kyoto protocols, unlike all of the other nations on the planet.
Right. That's the other thing, is we not only did we fulfill fucking Paris, we fulfilled Kyoto.
Which was funny because we didn't even try to fulfill Kyoto. Right? Like, we basically fulfilled the Kyoto protocols by accident and technology.
We didn't think we would. That became a joke. That was just as funny as the OTA from South Park, the Ozone Terrorist Association, where they go outside and spray cans in the air.
Yeah.
Like, it was just as goofy as that. It's like, okay, Kyoto Protocol basically constrains some of the stuff we do with our products, but, like, other than that, our energy infrastructure is kind of intolerant to that kind of change, and then all of a sudden, that kind of change just kind of popped up out of the ground in Ohio.
Which is largely because of gas plants. So it was actually fracking that caused us to reduce our overall carbon footprint. Because
by a lot, too.
By a lot. Right, so when we sit there as chemical engineers, we'll try to do something a little bit as simplistic as we can. Coal is a carbon to carbon bond, right? There is energy that we release by splicing the carbon to carbon bond and putting oxygen in.
Yeah.
Natural gas is a carbon to hydrogen bond. That's its predominant bonding type. There's a couple other ones. You know, you'll see your methane, your propane, your methane.
A little ethane, a little propane, a little ethylene.
But the overwhelming majority, just like everything else, is going to be the simplest compound, which is methane. At which point, that is a carbon to hydrogen bond, right? And there's 4 of those on a methane molecule, and they are more energy per unit mass intense than a carbon to carbon bond. So by the time we got to fracking dropped the cost of natural gas below the cost of operating a coal plant, because coal has a whole bunch of other properties associated.
Which crippled the coal industry, and which in retrospect is kind of a good thing, but at the same time, we still got to find those people jobs.
Yeah,
that certainly hurt Pennsylvania, West Virginia, bits of Ohio.
Yeah, it really
did. And I mean, ultimately, like, don't get me wrong, when Clinton turned around and said we're going to put these companies out of business, right? Yeah. Like, that's a bad thing to say from a presidential campaign standpoint, but from a practical engineering standpoint, like, that was going to happen regardless.
What she should have said was, we're going to make new businesses, and we're going to get these people involved.
Yeah, I know.
Instead, she said, you're all going to be fired.
Well, you know, they can just learn to code.
I mean, the better thing to do would have been to highlight the fact that the industry was collapsing anyways, instead of saying, my administration will cause you to collapse harder and faster.
The other thing was, of course, the coastal shit stains going, yeah, they should just learn to code. Let's get them to learn to code.
Oh my god, right? That was the great... You know,
and then they all get fired because Gawker goes under. Hey guys, you know what you should do? You should learn to crow.
That was the best thing.
It became a hate crime on Twitter to tell one of these fuckers to learn to code when they got fired.
I know. I thought that was the
juicy deliverance there.
That really was. It really was. They set themselves up for it, and then all of a sudden, all of these I actually, so oddly enough, I got into it with a journalist this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he turned around. He's like, I will not debunk your lies. I'm like, yeah.
That's
and all of a sudden, it was a GameSpot editor or something like that. And I'm like, I didn't realize you had an intellectual deficiency being a games journalist. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's worse than having a blue check.
I'm sorry, buddy. Is your name sewed to the inside of your coat? Is there somebody I can call for you? Sorry, your name and address sewed to the inside of your coat.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And
where's your card, man?
Like, I specifically called that out, right, because I know what my profile says, and I know what his profile says. And I was like, yeah, you try. You very well try to sit there and call out a nuclear engineer working at a national lab, Mr. GameSpot editor. I know what's going to happen. I know how this is going to go. I
want to get one of those jobs. I want to get one of those jobs so I can find you, like, one day. Or some fucking pseudonym, just be like, hey, yeah, I can. I will.
What?
And then it's about surprise, motherfucker.
But yeah, so that was funny. The editors sitting there and trying to tell me that I'm confused by all of these lies, and I'm like, I'm pretty positive that I actually literally get paid to decipher fact from fiction.
You don't know your science,
on the other hand, get paid to embellish any form of reality into a non-starter.
I mean, if it was somebody from, like, Journal or, like, any reputable organization, maybe, but a games journalist? I mean, that's...
GameSpot! It's not even like a legitimate games journalist. It's GameSpot.
Oh, dude, it's like a low-rent game journalist, even. Man.
Right? Like, it's
what
not
the
even...
fuck
it's
makes
not
you
even
think you got the right to talk to anything other than, like, a janitor?
Right.
Even then, the janitor probably has a better degree.
Oh, yeah, no, or at the very least, real-world experience that's useful for something.
Right?
Like how to not shit up a campsite.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, Learn to Code was the greatest response to all of those journalists losing their jobs.
Oh yeah. I mean, I legitimately felt bad for some of them that were just out there doing a beat. They weren't like part of the whole bullshit thing. And then then they get piled on because one of their asshole coworkers decides to go out there on a limb for them and say, "Hey, they're out of work."
That's one of the downsides of culture wars.
Yeah.
Right? Like we do, and we should talk about the fact that not every single person that writes for any individual organization or any individual aspect of an organization is responsible for the bullshit that we are in.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I do think...
There are specific people, though, that are just never going to be redeemable.
That's true. That's true, but I also think that there's a lot of other people...
Not
one
because
of the things,
they can't, because they won't do it.
Oh, yeah. No,
one of the things that's a downside to the culture wars is that when we dive into this stuff, we drag a big net. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that we catch some folks who are just doing their job in that net. And then that's actually probably what reinforces a lot of the tribalism.
That definitely is. Yeah, the people in the middle. So you can see that right now with the polarization of politics in general in the U.S. Like, I get routinely told that, you know, I'm a person who is against mask usage, which should be something hilarious for you to hear. And then I also get told that I'm a Bible thumper, that I'm up Trump's ass. Let's see, there's other great little gems like that.
Wait,
that I'm for war in the Middle East.
You know what? You know what I think the biggest thing I can say about you, Craig, is you are the primary user of the Baldo.
Okay, we gotta stop for a minute and talk about the fucking
All right,
Baldo.
yeah. All right, the Baldo.
Because people need to know. The populace needs to know.
All right, you're so sold on this thing.
Listeners,
Sell us on
and
the
viewers,
Baldo, sir.
all 7 of you, I am very sorry. But there are certain things that a man comes to in life in terms of his exploration of his own sexuality. And sometimes it's porn, and sometimes it's ridiculous things on the
This
internet.
isn't a fucking 12-year-old you're talking to.
And sometimes
But
it's both.
these things need to be shared because we just can't understand them in contemporary American functionality. And the Baldo is one of those. Someone
Links
has
below.
invented a
Not
way
sponsored.
to strap their balls into a device so that they can penetrate a woman.
Oh my god.
Or not.
I don't know. I really struggle.
I still thought it was called a Baldo, but you know.
So I do not believe that you could penetrate a butthole with this thing. I'm just saying I don't think the structure is there. I think...
Well, not with that kind of attitude. Obviously, it's not. You're going to have to try harder.
He's considering that perhaps it's designed to help you complete a shocker without using your hand.
That may be the general theory behind the device.
I can see how you could get certain stimulations out of attempting that.
But there are when we start talking about what God has created in mankind, right? It is a complex structure that allows us to utilize a rigid apparatus for specific functionality. The Baldo achieves the same thing with a rubber gasket.
Also,
and
you could
somehow
just say,
I
what
don't
has
believe
science
that
wrought?
it's capable of, like, where the penis may be over-engineered, I believe the Baldo is not sufficiently engineered to go into one specific orifice, which is not designed to be entered anyways. Like, humankind has always had that can-do attitude, and the Baldo is the...
This quickly went from an infomercial to a critique session.
So what are you saying? This is the spruce goose of sex toys or something?
I suspect it will fly. I don't know how far.
Out the window.
And you're probably right. The spruce goose.
Honey, this is not working for me. Okay, fuck it.
I just have to imagine the individual who invented this thing must have been cucked so hard that he had to literally invent a plastic dildo.
His wife turns to him and says, "Look, all right,
your dick is just not there, my man.
My bull is so much better than you in bed, but I love your balls. I don't know how I can have both of you." And he goes, "I know."
This is the kind of thing that, like, I, as an engineer, firmly appreciate the actual attempt. Because there is a how it works section, and I'm pretty sure it's filled with lies.
No! I am so not reading this.
The how it works section is pretty great. The first step is to shave your balls.
You see, that's a non-starter at the beginning.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I understand.
Why would you bring sharp metal down there to begin with?
The second step is to insert as many expander rings as is possible.
Insert?
Well, you have to stretch it and stick it over. It's just...
This
sounds like a complicated mess.
I mean, there are support structures and tendons that go into making you able to do the thing that you do, boys. And this is attempting to do it with 2 rings and a phallus-ish shaped object.
It looks more like a bullet.
It does look a lot like a bullet. I think you know what's really weird? So take a look. If I really please Evan, by all means, post the picture at the very least. There is a 3D printed surface that says Baldo on the side.
Indeed there is.
That has to go in a hole. There is somebody who is literally going
for her pleasure.
ribs for her pleasure.
Or Baldo for her pleasure, I suppose.
I would believe this is more real if it was actually like an engraved thing rather than a printed on the surface of the silicon structure.
If it was,
they haven't launched the Indiegogo yet. They're not doing that until next month. So this is early days.
You got
it's animated
early access notification.
Oh no!
Oh, it's over?
Okay, the links are going to definitely be below, and you absolutely have to check out the site. And
these are things that you can't unsee, and that is what the internet is good for.
Yes.
This is the
This
meat
is better
swing.
than the porn that it was designed for.
I don't know what porn this was designed for because I
the
still don't
internet
believe
was
it
designed.
actually works.
You know what the internet is for, correct?
Yes.
Porn.
Yes, it is.
I'm at a bit of a loss.
You've never seen Avenue Q, have you?
I have not seen the full Avenue Q, but I have seen enough World of Warcraft videos associated with it to make it.
I love that adaptation of it.
That was really the best. The
Tauren adaptation. Yeah.
Yes.
God.
I'm actually a little familiar with Avenue Q, so.
I have seen it on Broadway. I was fortunate enough to
Did you actually?
When there was a showing, I was fortunate enough to be there.
I have tried to find it, and it does not appear to be.
This was a long time ago, so.
Yeah,
recent.
So I'm not personally a big fan of musicals.
Yeah. It was the high school trip, so this was like 2006. That winter.
They let you go to Avenue Q for a High School Musical?
Yeah, that's the thing. That was the thing. Is like there's going, we're gonna go watch this show, and then like those of us who are like semi in the know are just like, why the fuck would we want to see that? And we watched it, and I actually appreciated it. It was good.
Really?
I liked it. It was all right. It was mostly because the actors were really good.
I remember high school being a whole bunch of principals and teachers still attempting to espouse puritanical views.
That was the funny part, was they were doing that, but at the same time they're like, fuck it. So the English teacher insisted on us seeing this, and she was let's see, I'll say a stalwart bitch in some ways.
Did she enjoy some of her students in a non-professional?
No, she was not that kind of person. Actually, it turns out later on that another English teacher I had did, and that was disgusting because what a fucking asshole.
So you're not.
Was it a she or a he?
Different English teachers. The English teacher in 12th grade was the same I had in 10th grade. She was an excellent teacher. The person I had in 11th grade, he was an excellent teacher at the time. I did not know that he would be willing to get drunk and
see that's the fundamental difference.
Get nailed by another student.
That's the fundamental difference, right?
Thankfully, I was not there at the time. I was well outside the school.
As we all know, it is only rape when it's a male teacher.
Absolutely. So it's entirely inappropriate for me.
Let's say that I wouldn't. there's not enough alcohol for the other one. Not nearly enough.
Well, yeah, like we say, you weren't hot for teacher. Understood.
Well, I don't see how anybody. Anyway, she insisted we see Avenue Q, and it was good, and I'm glad that she did. She hated me in 10th grade because I fucking forced her to learn the control commands for Word.
How did you force someone to learn the control commands?
So she asked for my help because my dad was a computer person, and she knew I was proficient with computers and built my own, etc., etc., etc. She said, "Can you come over here and help me?" So I went over there and helped her. She was doing right-click, the hold down the Shift key, click in one place, hold down Shift, click in another place to highlight text, and then right-clicking to do copy and paste. I said, "No, you're doing this all wrong." So then she said, "Okay, what do I need to do?" I said, "Okay, hold down Control, click C, and then go where you want, hold down Control, click V." And
I thought you were going to do any of the more advanced commands.
No, then I had her do Z and X to undo and redo the process. And I said, "Okay, repeat those back to me." And I would not leave her desk till she did.
Oh, come on. Now, that's actually pretty reasonable.
Then she did.
Yeah, that is fairly reasonable. Like, I was thinking this was going to be like...
No, this wasn't as bad as it sounded. Then she did repeat them as she was exasperated, like for whatever reason. And then I went and sat down, and she hated me for a while.
Keep in mind, this is an English teacher.
Right.
If it was a math teacher or a science teacher, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But it's an English teacher.
So this person also got screwed with by a friend of mine. One day he snuck up to her. He was in a different period for the class. But he snuck up to her desk when they were doing like vocab in their chairs, and he put a piece of tape underneath her mouse. It was a rollerball mouse. And so my dad had to come and fix it. He just took the tape off the bottom.
See, these
at
are
her.
like so again, I work on a site. There's all kinds of classifications.
Right.
These are one of the things that you can do if somebody has chosen to leave their computer locked, as they should do. Assuming that somebody has not chosen to lock their computer in the appropriate way, you can simply change their autocorrect.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun.
The other one you can do is set the system language to UK.
I tried to do that, but we only have English installed.
Or just set the different time zone. Either 12 hours or 1 hour to either side.
I tried to do that, but honestly, given the fact that the majority of what we do is write work packages, it's really easy to just change things to one thing or another.
My favorite one to do is to take a screen cap of their desktop, and then get rid of put all the icons in a folder, like underneath their whoever they are, like just put it in their personal files. Then delete everything off the desktop, and then hide the start menu. And so they go and they try and click on the start button, and they can't. Oh yeah, and also move the start bar to the top of to the opposite side of the screen. So they try and go and they do the start bar.
I've tried that doesn't work as well for engineers.
Right, but the point is if you set it to the other side of the screen, they don't immediately go there. So they go and they try to do the start bar, and they can't click the start button. And they get all frustrated, and they hit the start button on the keyboard, and they'll figure it out. But then they go and try to use an icon, and they can't use an icon, and they can't use a start button thing because that's already told them that something's fucking around, but they're not going to know what yet.
Yeah, I've tried that. The engineers tend to figure that out pretty quickly.
I'm sure they pick it up a little faster. But
I will say
they have to go to the other side of the screen is pretty good.
So I've got one of my buddies. He does paint on the site. That's like his big thing.
Yeah.
Because the government doesn't do anything in any way short when it comes to paint. We throw the book.
Right.
And all of the CFR at paint.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So I've changed paint to pants. So it's pretty great because you go into Word and you change paint to pants, right? And that's the only way to do it. But then whenever he writes an email and he sends it out.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Oh man.
That was pretty entertaining. That's good. I like that.
That's really good.
It was pretty great because it's on a quick read. You won't even notice it.
Yeah. Keep in mind.
I think I allowed that to go three emails out before I was like, all right, maybe I should let him know that
Hey,
he's
buddy.
everybody
Check. Oh shit.
That's quality, man. That's quality. I applaud.
He eventually emailed me because he kept on leaving his computer unlocked, so I kept on having the opportunity to sit there and edit his thing. He finally sat there and said, "I'm sick and tired of this shit," and stopped sitting there with my word editor.
Oh, that is pretty good. We had a nice moment of the world not being crazy.
The world isn't crazy.
Oh yeah, let's get back to it.
It's only our politicians who are.
Well, not only. So, as we had talked about last week with Defense Distributed and Keybase, they're going to be moving soon.
Yeah, so that pisses me off. So that tells me two things. Zoom is actively going to start fucking with Keybase if they haven't already, and I can't recommend it anymore. You gotta do something else. There are other services out there. Now, the other thing is that it seems like it was specific to the Keybase file system, KBFS. which is a shared file system with your computer file system. So it doesn't actually it's a layer on top. So like it uses its own folder, et cetera, et cetera. That's all well and good. Now the great thing about it here's the upside on it. If they're not going to fuck with it, then they're not going to be able to tell who has what unless someone rats you out. But if they are going to do basically a glorified man-in-the-middle attack with your own keys and shit, then there's no choice to. You can't stay with them. You're gonna have to tell them to fuck off. They haven't had this thing even a year yet before they decide to fuck it up.
Unsurprisingly.
That's the thing that's pissed me off so much.
So,
right here.
well, I mean, so we talked about this a little bit.
They told the
last
team
week.
that they're gonna have autonomous action. They're not gonna be subject to all the other bullshit from Zoom, and that they're gonna be able to do their own thing. They're only bringing them in to do security consulting to get the app underlying the Zoom protocol unfucked because it was all Chinaware. And now they're coming back and saying we're going to get rid of anything to do with 3D printed guns on Keybase. And you have to say, okay, how are you going to do that? If you're going to do it by any way other than self-reporting, then that means you've compromised the security of the entire thing.
Absolutely.
So until they've clarified that, I can't even recommend this thing. It's just not possible.
Well, so this is fundamentally what I was talking about last week, right? So
Yeah.
Craig comes in and he says, "Hey, look at all of this security stuff that you can do," and fundamentally, all of the security in the world doesn't matter a shit bit as long as you are the weakest link, and you are always the weakest link in your security.
Well, no, that's not true. But when you make yourself the weakest link, then you have a hardened system. That's the takeaway message I was trying to hammer in there. Is to make yourself the weakest link.
Yeah, but you're always the weakest link,
but
right?
You're not.
So
that's the problem.
and at the end of the day, all of these companies have the ability to go in and sit there and shit on everything.
But that's
because you're not using
true.
something.
So here's the thing. If you have a hardened security setup, you are the weakest link, and that is the ideal scenario to have. Because then somebody has to go through you, and you just have to watch out. If you have a weakened security system, if it's not been hardened up, then you are not the weakest link.
I get that, but
and
take a look at this,
problem.
right? We were talking last week about using Keybase,
right.
And at the end of the day,
they are not. Because specific features existed. Again, this isn't making you, the user, the weakest link. If they, the provider, are actively fucking with it.
Yeah, this is one of your tools failing you.
I mean, I guess so. So the fundamental attitude that we have from a classified network system is that we are always the weakest link, right? So there is a fire, and I get that, right? Like loose lips sink ships. That is exactly. The fundamental. That is the fundamental dialogue that we have, which is one of the reasons why Swalwell fucking a Chinese spy is a problem, and the fact that it hasn't been dealt with.
Shit that he hasn't admitted to yet, specifically so that he doesn't get his ass arrested.
The fact that we haven't sat there and arrested him over the whole entire thing is a serious problem.
Held his ass in front of the Senate.
Well, I mean, he stayed on the Intelligence Committee for a while after this was revealed.
Right. So we have a representative.
And he didn't step down.
Who
they had
is
to remove
fucking
him.
a Chinese spy, right? And this is the worst of the worst. Like we are. So part of our security training, no shit, is to literally, if you are not a 10 over here, you are not a 10 over there. That is literally how they approach security. The best. If you find somebody who is way hotter than you, you should probably not be having sex with them. It's really a good baseline for all of your security. But the point is the same. Loose lips sink ships. And while I get it that Keybase is going to sit there and
well, imagine if your secure server imagine if with your secure setup they decided that now you're going to have civilian oversight with no security clearance come in.
Right.
And not more importantly, have direct access to the data in the middle while you're trying to send shit back and forth with secure server. That's the kind of problem that they've opened themselves up to by speculation alone. So until they can unfuck that PR disaster they've just created for themselves, there's no way I can recommend it. And I'm going to start migrating my shit away from it.
That's
there's just no
that's
choice.
the problem that you're going to have, and that's the problem you're going to have with most of the things that we talked about last week. Is fundamentally, if you are not in control of the IP of whatever security software you have, you should just assume
Well, that's
that
why
you don't
Signal
have
is superior at the point. Signal right now is because it's open source. You can't just there's no centralized fuck up of it. So far, you would have to have somebody who actively came in and befriended you and someone else, and then man in the middle then and there.
That's true.
And then broke the setup so that you were not communicating with that someone else again. They would have to actively get into new chats between two people.
Yeah,
prior to them
that
trying
is
to do their own.
true. That is true for some of the open source stuff.
So
but
there's
the problem
plenty
with
of
the
this
open
other
source stuff is the open source stuff tends to have a lot of problems.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of these problems get so there's a way these dev cycles work. Typically, the way that a good protocol is going to happen is you have proprietary capital at the beginning, and then you hit a critical threshold where the implemented functionality is replicated in public and open source sufficiently that the open source can take advantage of the many more hands-on and many more experts available. Just the unpaid labor that comes in that effectively gets paid back by having the thing function at the end of the day. So Linux is a great example of this. There are hardened Linux implementations out there. There's plenty of them that are used for forensics, etc. They're all free. And there's a reason they're all free and open source. There's a reason for that. There's a reason they're so much better than a lot of the stuff you can find in the proprietary markets. So,
and I do agree.
When you get to mature technology like, say, Signal, then there's something to be said about that as a protocol and as an reference implementation.
And I do agree. When we start talking about the open source markets are much better than anything that you can find outside of that. And that's predominantly because they're handled by, it's the same kind of thing as like Bitcoin or crypto or any of the other stuff that we talked about here earlier. At the end of the day, each of these is handled by a series of separate entities, and they all kind of have to concur on the way forward.
Right.
Whereas when we start talking about, proprietary corporate shit is handled by the company, and they essentially own it.
This is the kind of thing where the guy who was behind it at the beginning, I can't remember, Andrew Coyne. I know, it's funny. It's not spelled the same as, say, Bitcoin. So that guy, Mr. Coyne, the thing that would really make this so much better is if he turned around and opened up the Keybase source. Because that was an eventual goal, as far as I recall, before it was bought by Zoom. That the Keybase would be opened up.
And take that to note also, Zoom is not secure, not even remotely.
No, and to
Zoom has gotten a lot better.
To give our listeners a basis, right? So my wife and I, we are part of a search and rescue group. That is what we do as our volunteer service to our community, because we've reached the point where we feel that it is appropriate for us to get back. Our search and rescue service community group meets on Zoom, and we have not attended a meeting in almost a year, predominantly because both of us end up working for the Navy as subcontractors, and there is not a chance in shit hell I want to have them have access to anything associated with my thing, and because it goes through Zoom, there is no way I will sit there and sign on to a single one of those things. I will absolutely meet in person, but I will not. I haven't been able to because we were doing our master's class at the time, but I will not sit there and sign on to Zoom because I do not see it as secure.
So, in terms of decentralization of certain things, there is there's a similar kind of thing with KBFS. There's IPFS, which is an expanded internet protocol setup. It's the internet IP file system. Can't remember the other parts of it were. But anyway, IPFS, it runs off of a blockchain protocol, etc. And the idea is that these URL identifiers are linked to different locations on this blockchain instead, and those are hosted by the network of computers. So at any time, if you donate compute time and compute space, so in the form of memory and hard disk, to IPFS, you have access to initial upload, and then it's distributed widely.
Wasn't this very similar to the premise for MomCoin?
It's kinda. So Filecoin is, I think, the related one, but that one wasn't fully tied into it when I last played with the system.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really dug into, like, I know MomCoin, so for those who are listening, MomCoin was supposed to be computational power distributed.
Yeah.
So whatever it was that you were, if you bought MomCoin,
So, EOS
right,
is
you pay
another
for them.
People are probably going to be more familiar with EOS, which is a similar kind of idea. So that one you get different types of subdivided units for compute power, for memory power, for drive power, for lack of better phrasing on that. So another messaging service you could use is Riot. That one's pretty good. There's a variety of different interweaves things you can do. You can go into you can use Tor or I2P for at least secured setup. I wouldn't recommend Tor because the FBI monitors exit nodes and they can pretty well track if you.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. That was pretty fucking funny.
If you use it for more than if you use it 30 times, then they monitor enough nodes where you're going to get caught.
So to understand the Tor protocol, right? So you have entrance and exit nodes, right?
And by the way,
so basically,
is Element now, and I will put a link to that for anybody that's interested.
So when we start talking about the Tor protocol, everybody should know Tor, right?
Yeah.
Because Tor was supposed to be like onions and layers and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But what it fundamentally broke down to was entrance and exit nodes. So
if you're using the ClearNet, just to be clear.
So you would have this kind of like separate net of servers that you could access, but it was only accessed through a handful of nodes. And so while the FBI can't monitor your traffic as well as they would to, say, eBay or something that's a much more common site on the normal web, you could go into the dark web through the Tor browser, but the Tor browser could only get there through a handful of servers. And so what the FBI has now done is monitored those handful of servers.
Yeah, they basically
so if you want to use the Tor browser, congratulations. You're just as well monitored as you would.
Here's the issue that came out of that. It wasn't that they were using the Tor browser to do Tor activities, to do stuff like onion addresses. The problem was that they were using the fucking Tor browser to go to ClearNet addresses, which meant they went in one side and went out, basically, I think, randomly distributed throughout the rest of the nodes.
Yeah.
The FBI only had to monitor so many of them. So, again, like 30 or 40 of them, before they got enough information for people who were using it to do ClearNet activities to be able to track which nodes they went in and out of on a statistical basis. And then just because it's distributed so well between the different nodes, it's not like preferential node clumping or binning. You can go in and manually change nodes, but you can't pick which node you're changing to necessarily. So you can't you don't just do preference for nodes or whatever. So because it was randomly distributed and well distributed, they just had to wait on a significant enough portion, which is not that many of the many nodes that are out there, and just sniff traffic. And they don't even have to they don't have to break into the box or anything. They just check in with the ISP.
Yep.
So if you're gonna use Tor to do onion address things, and then that's it, because they can't monitor you at that point. But if you're going to use Tor to do other stuff, you need to use I2P, which is layered on top of Tor.
Yep. So to give people an understanding, right? Let's say my IP address, and this is completely and totally wrong. It's just for simplicity.
127.0.0.1.
No, I'm just going to say 86, right? Let's screw the whole subnet masks and all that.
Well, that was the home address, which was the joke. But anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean 192.168.1. Yeah, no. Where let's say my IP address was 86, and there were only 100 motherfuckers who are interested in this. So my IP address would go out to a specific location, and all they'd have to do is monitor all of these 30 or 40 different nodes in which I could enter the net. And basically, because only the people who are actually looking for semi-legal or illegal things were entering through the Tor browser, all of a sudden they just say, "Hey, IP address 86 has shown up X number of times. Therefore, we should probably watch what IP address 86 is doing, and then they'd use that to refine their search and gather more information about
That's
you.
The thing is
which again goes back to why I say the weakest point is always you, regardless of your protocol. So if you don't monitor your shit, you are screwed.
So that 30 or 40 that we were talking about, there are hundreds of these nodes. There are thousands of these nodes.
But it's random in terms of the application. Right.
So again, the point was they didn't have to monitor even if we're talking about a percentage of them, they were monitoring less than 1%.
Yep.
By a large margin there, less than 1%. They don't need to monitor that many of them in order to be able to get enough data because of the way that their core is done.
Who is entering one side and who is exiting another side. Because the assumption is, by the FBI, that if you're going in through the Tor browser into one of these nodes, you're probably doing something you're not supposed to do.
So they did have people that were under surveillance. And the way that they were able to get their traffic was by monitoring where they came out. And they did that on a statistical basis. So it wasn't even like we assume that these are all bad people. It was, we know this person's going in on this side, and now we're going to use the fact that fucking Obama is monitoring everything to go ahead and just monitor everything. So that was one of the other things that peeved me about the whole thing, was the way that they got the warrants was so flimsy. But they did it. They managed to do a statistical correlation, find the traffic that was going in and out, and they were able to tell where this person was and hammer them.
Yep.
So that is broken. You want to do I2P if you're doing anything in the ClearNet. That's the important distinction there. If you're doing stuff in dark, if you're doing stuff like in an Onion browser to go to Onion sites, like if you're using like Torch or whatever to do your browsing inside the dark web, then it's a lot different than say going to Google in your fucking Tor browser.
I mean, and that's only a minor aspect of things. So when we start talking about like, hey, they're making a ton of arrests of whoever sat there or went into the Capitol. Now I'm gonna be honest, right? I see people like Tim Pool, and Tim Pool kind of pisses me off with his whole, oh my god, this was a world crisis event shit. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's two aspects of this. The only reason it's a crisis is because Republicans are pussies. If Republicans said, well, yeah, technically the public owns the Capitol building, and they technically have a right to be there because it's their building that they paid for with their taxes, right? Then we would have, and that was the argument they were putting forward, we would have less of an issue than this, oh my god, it was a world crisis event.
An assault on our democracy.
Oh, right. I love that fucking phrase. As if everything else they have doesn't.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should have beaten the shit out of the cops that you did, right? Like people shouldn't have died going into the Capitol building. But it looks like a guided tour more than it does, Black Lives Matter protest.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm all in favor of them all getting arrested. I'm in favor of them, all of them getting not necessarily arrested so much as just given a ticket for trespassing. Sure. Or maybe being brought in. Maybe
that'll take a chunk out of the national debt that was.
No, here's the other thing, and to come and to at least bring them in to help them find who did stuff like vandalism or beating up cops, shit like that. Like just find those fuckers and crucify them in court. But everyone else, you're trespassed. Get the fuck out.
Like that, like the Antifa guy or the BLM guy.
I don't even think they fucking trespassed.
Well,
we own that building.
Right?
Right? We own that goddamn building. We, the public of America, own that building. We did not trespass into a building that we own. Right?
Yeah,
you can't make the claim that, so most people wanted us out. Screw you. I have a share of that building. I have equal access as everybody else. Right?
Well,
now, beating the cops,
yes.
smashing the windows, all of that stuff, inappropriate. All of that's inappropriate, right? But you have a right to be in that building. It is not a crisis of democracy. You watch these people walk between these roped off lanes, and they're just friggin' walking through the building. They aren't burning it down. They aren't really doing anything massively destructive. Yes, there are people who died, and that's a shame. And anybody who was participating in that should be arraigned and put in jail. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it is not this crisis of friggin' democracy.
What is the other
like
thing?
this
Now,
is
they found
fixable.
the pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC offices or whatever.
You know what?
People, here's my take on that. They had that fucking bitch, what's her name, who's heading up, what is it, BLM, who put the pipe bomb that did go off in the building, and then she got her sentence commuted under Clinton.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't want to hear any of that shit coming out of them, because you're one of your fuckers who's actively leading your shit right now was a person who went in there and put a pipe bomb in and set it off and did more damage than was done on that day this month.
You know what? You know what I think she needs? A little bit of the Valdo.
Oh my God.
Maybe. I honestly don't
I
think
bet
that
you.
would
I
help
bet
the
you her day
situation.
would be made better if she had a little bit of Valdo going action. Right?
Well, it might, but
Maybe.
I don't
Well,
think it would actually improve the rest of our lot. If I'm being
I mean,
honest.
the problem that you have with these things is ultimately all of these people, right, who go
Well,
into
they're all
these,
fucking hypocrites.
they are all hypocrites, right? That's absolutely true. But A, it's the people's space, it's the people's building, they have a right to be there. B, it's not like they were burning this shit down. This does not look like the Black Lives Matter protest.
There's no like to it. They
Well,
flat
yeah, it
out
doesn't look like the
Right.
riots that had happened there. What was it?
Like,
a month
the
before?
Worst case scenario is that Nancy Pelosi had to delay whatever speech she was going to make for 2 hours. So she probably went to a fucking bar, got herself a few martinis, and then showed up on the floor.
No, she didn't have to go to a bar. The bar came to her. That's what she has AIDS for.
That's probably true. But, you know,
Why do you
the
think her hands
bottom
are
line
under
is,
the desk?
bottom
She's
line is
managing a fucking lion
our
in your-
representatives had to sit there and pause their magnanimous speeches, which nobody's listening to, for a couple hours. Oh, woe be the inconvenience.
No, but you know, the fucking Rashida had to bitch about shit. Chaya Paul was funny. She probably was already infected before she showed up there. She was complaining about people not wearing a mask. None of them got infected.
Oh my God.
She's the one who came back with a positive test result saying they were bioterrorists. No, not even that. Someone else called them chemical terrorists.
That's the other thing. We sit there and we want to start talking about this dark future that we're kind of walking into. This, and the majority of the nation thinks we're headed towards civil war. You want to know why that fucking is? It's because of this rhetoric from the Democrats. And I'm not saying that as somebody. I'm not saying that as somebody who is like staunchly Republican. I won't defend Trump in everything that he does. But at the same time,
yeah.
What's that?
I said he sounds like a dick.
He does.
He does.
But
I mean,
at the end of the
lately
day,
he's proven to be a bit of a pussy,
the Republicans are pussies. I think we can all agree that the Republicans do not stand any ground that they can see. Right? They just don't. They don't. So to turn around and sit there and deal with this, right? It's not some sort of rebellion against the state. We didn't burn anything down.
I desperately want it to be. It's so funny to watch.
No crisis happened. This isn't bioterrorism. This is a handful of people.
They're acting like they did more damage in that 2-hour window than those fuckers did all of last year and the rest of the last decade.
Yeah.
How many billions in damage have to be done? How many other lives have to be lost before it becomes comparable to a Democrat?
Well, and that's
because
the thing.
how many lives? What are they doing? They're immediately going to Benghazi.
32 or 40 people died from the BLM riots over the summer.
The thing that they immediately go to is comparing it to Benghazi, and that's just not even comparable in the slightest, because it wasn't any of the people attacking in Benghazi that got killed that they were whining about. It was the 4 people who got killed that were inside the compound.
Horrible comparison.
Now, had four members of Congress been killed, then they would have been able to make an accurate comparison. But no. What happened? A guard died tragically, and then that one crazy woman died tragically.
Someone hit him over the head with a fire extinguisher. That is 100% inappropriate, and whoever hit him over the head with a fire extinguisher should be locked up forever.
It seems like that one came down to cardiac arrest, just as a by the by.
Yeah, absolutely. The motherfucker who comes in to a cop who's just doing his job and decides to end his life over it, or even risk ending his life over it by hitting him over the head with a fire extinguisher, that motherfucker should go to jail and or death. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to cry. That being said, it's not, we're sitting there and we're talking about our representatives arguing that Republicans are out there to kill them. Republicans don't have a spine. Right? How can Republicans stand up to kill somebody when they can't be bothered to get up off their couch?
Well, you can count as many did as basically the ones that were willing to support Trump in all this. And they're getting a real crash course in cancel culture.
What's going to happen is, you see, there is at least 10 in the House that were willing to borrow the stick up their Democrat partner's ass to stand up straight for long enough to cast a vote to impeach Trump. And while that's hilarious and all, this whole entire thing has become a partisan tool. This whole process.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's what I want to see, right? Because when we start talking about
the fact that we start talking about Senate, go ahead.
Well, when we start talking about the Senate and the House races, right? The fact that it's Democrat now, it won't be next election cycle. It won't be, right? It will probably be a Republican Senate and a Republican House next election cycle. And the reason I say that,
at this point,
the reason that I say that is because ultimately, the only reason the Congress got to be in the state that it's in right now is because a whole bunch of people who were party elites that didn't, basically Trump was going to kick them to the curb because they're part of the swamp, right? They got kicked out in 2018, right? They go up for re-election in 2020, or a large portion of them do. Or what is it, 6 years for the Senate and
2 years for the House.
Something like that. So a whole lot of people are about to be up for re-election in 2022, right? And on that day, it will probably switch back to Republican House and Republican Senate. That's my guess as to what's going to happen. And when we start talking about that, all of a sudden we should be talking about, you want to talk about impeachment? I really want to see the House members introduce on January whatever of 2023, right? I want to see them introduce an article of impeachment against Biden for the emails.
Yeah, I've got some good news for you.
That's happening on the 21st.
Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe it is.
Yeah.
The one who just recently got suspended from Twitter for 12 hours.
She's got significant enough lady balls to use a baldo.
And yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean the problem is the reason I don't want to see it done before that, right?
Oh, too bad.
I don't want to see it done before that because it doesn't have a point.
Well, I mean there is.
Oh, it has a point. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, nothing will come of it. But
well, that's what I'm saying, right? So if Congress and the Senate in 2023 sit there and run through articles of impeachment on Biden, they should do it for the emails, right? We've got ample evidence that he actually was a corrupt political leader, and we should deal with that and dispose of him as such. Right, and then as soon as he's impeached, they should introduce article of impeachment against Harris, and that should be done based on the fact that she created a bail fund for the BLM protesters, contrary to the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, well, boy, that's a kinder way of putting it than I did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also for the fact that, we don't know what kind of heels she was wearing when her heels were up. And that was something the American public deserved to know before they voted on her.
What's that?
What kind of heels was she wearing when her heels were up?
Are you talking about the, Wait, no, her heels weren't up then.
Slick with Willie?
Yeah, when they were over her head.
Why would they be over her head?
Because she was holding onto her ankles.
I thought that she was on her knees.
Oh, that was just foreplay. Oh, that's fucked up.
So there is one topic I do want to cover before we.
You know what I think the real question is going to be in 2023? Did she use a baldo?
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she claimed to do so.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe she's an early adopter.
Well, I'm sure she'd do it. She'd say so if it got her better ratings than The Office.
Yeah, I mean, I could see her flip flopping faster than old Swiftboat Carrie.
Oh yeah.
But I do want to cover one last thing that we covered kind of a long time ago. But how to handle dealing with a phone in OPSEC.
Oh, so I can help you out with this pretty quick. You don't, if you have use Android,
Right.
and then don't use Google. Root your phone, put an OS on there that is not Google based. And they do exist. There's plenty of them. You can pick and choose. There are other app services that do not rely on Google services whatsoever. Aptoid is one of them.
Yeah,
Even though Aptoid is on a Google service, like you don't like. There's plenty of videos out there that are even on YouTube, which is again just extra irony points here for how to be able to get around dealing with services like Google. And because Google has shown their fucking hand recently with how they want to do
really
things, yeah, they can go ahead and suck both of my nuts with a Baldo on them. You know, they can fuck right off.
That's good. That's good. We should, just saying, Evan, we should really get product promotion in here, right here.
I'm saying if somebody's looking to advertise, we are.
The Baldo should sponsor us.
This is not sponsored by Baldo.
Because I will
and it
happily
should be.
talk about the Baldo in every episode.
My God.
I mean, I would not necessarily be averse to finding a way Baldo get in touch.
So did we have any questions from last episode?
Unfortunately not, but
I mean, we do have 7 users. Keep in mind.
Hey, look. That means we could have had 7 questions.
True,
all right?
true.
They're slacking.
Or unlimited questions.
Well, we got
From
one
right,
so hopefully, that means maybe there might have been a question. So.
So, I mean, if what we should probably do at some point here is set up something where they can submit questions centralized instead of trying to find us in different services.
You know what? You
I
co-
do actually
or we
plan on
can
setting
put
up
our
my-
Twitter link.
feel free to spend your free time.
Or instead of like last time where we said things on air, we could just have our Twitter links in the description of the episode.
I made sure to
well,
put it in.
I mean,
the last
are we
one,
all still going to continue to use Twitter?
I mean, I'll monitor it. I'm still kind of using it there, but like, I am migrating over to Minds.
Is that where everybody's going now?
A lot of people showed up there recently.
Yeah, Minds.
Also on Gab.
Speaking of Minds, as a matter of fact, they recently got the ultimatum from Google as well, but they were able.
That's
to,
what I was talking about.
They were able to come out with a last-minute fix that even.
What they did was they crippled their phone app, basically.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely crippled. You can.
But they're also going to be moving to something that's end-to-end encrypted later on.
So what happened with Minds? I have not been.
The ability to comment publicly on someone else's post is crippled right now because of Google's ultimatum that was swiftly followed by Apple's ultimatum. And the ability to post a couple of other types of content are also crippled. Right now,
like,
you can...
For instance, what? Let's be specific here.
Well, like I said, you can't comment on someone else's public post.
At all, period.
Period.
Right.
No comments. Imagine Twitter without replies.
Got it.
And then you can't, I think you can't post video content right now, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think so.
Anyway, their ultimatum letter, they specify, there was a Minds post on this shit somewhere. I have to find it.
All I'm saying is this is going to trigger an antitrust suit.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Should.
And since there's actually international eyes on this now, that I was honestly not expecting. I mean, Merkel, of all people? Wow.
Well, see, I think the thing is that our companies are so used to... So realistically, I don't think that the left is as powerful in foreign nations as we like to think it is, right? So what's ended up happening is when they started doing things like banning Trump's accounts on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of this, a whole bunch of foreign politicians said, whoa, we don't want to have this happen, right? Like, I get it. These are American companies dealing with a president in their territory, but they think that power is a little bit excessive. And that's what I think ended up happening. I don't think the left is as powerful internationally as they think they are.
Well, it's a different brand of left is the problem for them.
Absolutely, that is a fact.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
yeah, look
the
us all up
Brits
on,
are not
Minds as well.
as far socialist as we are. Right? And they're certainly not into as much as...
Well,
as
the
much
socialism part is they're definitely against that. That's one of the things a lot of different places that have a stable form of semi-socialism going where they're okay with it, like France, or they outright reject it, like, say, in England.
Yep. And so I think that's kind of the thing is that the American left has... We've moved from being left on social issues to being left on authoritarian issues. And that's, I think, the problem that they have is that's starting to make the rest of the world rather uncomfortable.
As well it should.
Yeah.
As well it should. It should scare the ever-living shit out of you.
It should.
Because
it should, but...
it always ends in death and suffering. It always does. That's just the way it works out.
I really hope that Merkel, the Australian Prime Minister, and the British Prime Minister end up sitting there and doing something that really harms social media on these fronts, and so it reins them in. Because I think they're in an echo chamber, right? They're in an echo chamber. They're only listening to the San Francisco Bay Area, and they just don't understand that's not what the rest of the country's like.
The rest of the world, even, for that matter.
Yeah,
much less
absolutely.
the rest of this country. I mean, it's the most detached people in the whole world. On that note as well, that recently came out from Veritas, and there's apparently more coming from Jack saying that the censorship of Donald Trump is only just the beginning.
I actually didn't find that to be that big of a deal.
Well, it's not that it is, but it's that it's just another mask-off thing. It's like, okay, well, he is aware, he is actually in control of this to some degree, and he is making the decisions.
And that may be fair.
You know, some might have been able to say before, well, maybe, you know, it's a company out of control, which, you know, you could say that, but no, it's probably a lot more him. And
a lot of things.
And I guess when we start talking about the Senate testimony, what he's saying now is in contradiction to what he said in previous testimony, which makes him technically liable for perjury.
Which he should be prosecuted for.
Yep.
And now that there's international pressure and evidence, something could happen. It'll be interesting.
You know what I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see Brennan in a fucking jail cell.
Oh, that'd be a fine thing.
Yeah.
I don't think a single person would be upset if he got his ass pinched.
I'm for me.
If we want to talk about the Mueller probe, like, seriously, that was one of the most banana republic shit that has ever been pulled in any Western nation for a really long time.
Yeah, almost on the
We
level
are
of having
investigating
40,000 troops instead of celebrating people at your inauguration.
Right. We're investigating a sitting president based on nothing but opposition research. That's a problem.
Bad opposition research, no less.
Yeah. That we couldn't confirm, and we knew we couldn't confirm at the time that we began the investigation.
And unfortunately, in the meantime, since all that got declassified just recently, they lost the information that actually gave them the initial confirmation to go after it. And then when they found it again, they lost it again, and they lost it a third time. Man,
really?
They've got the worst luck over there. I'm telling you, those glow-in-the-darks, man, they just had the worst luck with records. They just keep losing them.
Well,
Can you imagine?
That's the thing, you know. Either the Democrats have the best IT professionals in the business or the worst IT professionals in the business, depending on how you want to look at it. But as I said, they're super Gaussian. They have a super magnetic personality, as in literally any single time a liberal gets near a hard drive, it gets magnetized.
Kind of crazy how that happens.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
Or I guess I could reply with the classic adage, stop, hammer time.
It's probably because they get one of these pictures on there, this last picture. It just kind of scrambles the whole entire thing.
Entirely possible.
All I see is yummy, gay Winnie the Pooh. Which, you know. I understand where you're coming from, Craig. I get it. It's okay.
You don't see freedom, independence.
You are free. You are free to.
Republic of China, Tibet, Dalai Lama.
Oh, that reminds me.
Yeah, that would require me actually opening
Holland,
the image.
Dafa,
And just
Xinjiang,
to
Uyghur Autonomous Region.
Yeah, just to actually make comment on something that recently occurred, I think it's unfortunate that Mr. Pompeo decided not to visit the superior country of Taiwan instead of staying here. I think it would have been a really great way to just sign off.
This is a good explanation for that.
It's a Jenny the Pooh meme, just as a by the by.
Shinny Jinpoo.
But yeah, it is a real shame that Mike Pompeo decided against visiting the superior country of Taiwan and just saying, this beautiful island nation, with its neighbor, China. It's unfortunately overly aggressive neighbor, China, who should be a friend of Taiwan, the superior nation, but they are not. And it is.
You know what is stunning is they're sitting there and they're talking about like being afraid that Biden is going to get assassinated during the coronation. Like, we want to sit there and we want to talk about Taiwan. Okay, I get it. If the Democrats stepped out of line, China Biden wouldn't get his money. But now they're afraid that people are just going to assassinate him straight out.
And so they don't arm all the... Yeah, so you send out 40,000 troops, and then you don't give them any bullets for their guns. I should say cartridges, excuse me. So, because I've got literally nothing else to say, and I'm dumbfounded myself, I think this is a really good place to go ahead and cut it for the night.
Sweet.
All right.
So, be well, be safe. Don't go to Washington, D.C. Just stay away.
My boss actually asked me about that. Asked me if I was going. I'm like, no. No. Just you turn around and say, "You sure?" You're like, you're pretty into this. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm part of the cleanup crew. If shit happens, I fix the mess. I don't sit there and start it.
Yeah. Just don't. That's all. Just don't.
Zero reason to go.
Right.
Not a single reason to show up. It's supposed to be an online inauguration to begin with.
Anyway, it's been something. Talk to you again soon.